winter's night felt the heat of a summer day. Down by the river where both frogs sang a piece. Crumbling towers stand slowly through the mist, the cool waterway. Outside the sound of locusts never ceased, never ceased. By the falls met a dusty queen in a gown of cream and silk. How quietly her tears fell as if in a dream. On the ground her dead knight lay, his blood like milk. Opened her mouth but could not find a voice to scream. Voice to scream.
Alright, so today we're going to talk about the canon of the human head. We talked about the canon of the human body earlier, or maybe we talk about it after this. That's a good question. But there is a set amount of measurements that most people basically fall into with both their body and their head. So we're going to start first with kind of an egg shape, but with the point heading down toward the chin. If it's too wide, your head's going to look like a basketball. If it's too skinny, your head's going to look like a bean. Now, your head has roughly symmetrical balance or mirror balance. So I'm going to put a dividing line, although you'll do it light because you want to be able to erase this later, here and in the middle this way. Your eyes sit in the middle of your head. I know this may be a conflicting thought for you guys. They sit higher on your face because of your hair. But if you were to go home tonight and shave off all your hair and measure your face with a ruler, you'd find out your eyes are more closely to the middle than they are toward the top. All right? So halfway between your eyes and your top of your head and your chin are your eyes. And that's why the canon of the human head, canon of human head, is also known as the rule of half. Because it doesn't stop with your eyes being halfway in the middle of your head. Halfway between your eyes and your chin is basically where your nose goes. Halfway between your nose and your chin is where your mouth goes. All right? Now, when you go to draw eyes, your eyes are probably the most unique part of your facial feature, and everybody's eyes are different. So I'm going to just loosely kind of put mine out in semi-football shape because I'm going to measure, because the distance between your two eyes should be one eye width. So if I was to go back and check this and see I'm taking a ratio once again and using my pencil to measure, between my eyes there should be space for one eye. Maybe your third eye, if you're all mystical and stuff. All right? So far I've got those placed. One eye height above your eye is where your eyebrows are. All right? And to figure out your ears, and this one's going to be fun, put your fingertip on top of your ears, go straight forward. Holy moly, you run into your eyebrow. If you put your finger on the bottom of your ear, your earlobe, and you go straight forward, you run into the bottom of your nose. Yes, your ears are far larger than you ever believed they were. But that's because people don't really look at them. All right. Nobody's written a rap song about how earlicious her ears ever was. So until they do, people are really going to ignore ears. In fact, they get so ignored that most of the time my first year students, when they draw a human face, I'd say 1 out of 4 times they forget to put ears, which freaks me out. They're usually the last thing you draw. But people put jewelry in them to draw attention to them because they are so overlooked. Okay, so let's talk about what we need to do from here. There are a ton of details in an eye. So I'm going to flip this. I'm going to draw some eyes for you. I'm going to draw a couple. There's the almond-shaped eye. Ooh. And you'll notice when you're drawing an eye, if you draw an eye, and this is going to be a more jagged eye shape, and you put the pupil floating in the middle, one of those 2 eyes looks like they could get arrested for drug possession. I'm going to guess this guy. Your eye is generally covered at some point by an eyelid. All right? So you have eye, eyelid, you'll have eyelashes. Eyelashes stick out toward the side. They go up and down in the middle because your eye is a sphere. All right? And then your eye in the middle has your pupil. If you make your pupils tiny, they will look stoned or frightened. All right? And there's usually, if you stare deeply enough into your eye, you will see a little white area that kicks back some of the reflection from the light in the room. There will also generally be a line underneath upon which the bottom eyelashes sit. All right? And there will be an eyebrow. That eyebrow is generally made out of broken lines because unless you shaved your eyebrows off and you are drawing them in with a pencil, your eyebrow is going to be made out of hair, right? Although I did have a student once who shaved off her eyebrows and she would do this, which I think these were supposed to be hearts. And then she would draw this line across, and it always looked like a bone to me. And then you'd stare at it going, what is that supposed to be? And she'd be like, why are you looking at me? And I'm like, I don't know, you just did a dog treat over your eyeball. I'm trying to figure it out. Don't look at me. Don't draw that. All right. So anyway, there are other details you could have. You could have a tear duct. All right. Let me make this eye look a little more normal. All right. This one's going to be weird. These hard edges basically are created, if you have an eye like this, by your eye socket. So you might not see all of your eyelid, might be shaded in. Your eyelashes might go like this. Coincidentally, guys, or ironically, guys have longer eyelashes naturally than most women do. But then again, they don't use mascara, you know, unless it's a really special time of the week, like the weekend. All right, you can question that as much as you like. All right, so we got that going right there with that. Now, you could have very closed eyes. You could have the bottom part of the eye coming up. This generally indicates a high cheekbone. And you see that? Some people don't even have an eyelid, depending upon what their eye socket looks like. So you have to figure out the direction of the eye, the shape of the eye. I'd take a few minutes now and pause this video, and I will draw some eyes on my face. All right? And I will do mine, but I will speed up the tape so that you don't have to sit through all of it. Okay, so now let's start talking about the nose. Bunch of different shapes that you have for the nose, but almost every one of them has to go with some version of this bird in the middle. And I call this the bird because this is how you used to draw birds when you were a little child. You'd be like, look, mommy, I drew a bird, and I drew another bird, and I drew another bird. That bird is the area right above your nostrils. And a lot of people, they think nostrils are drawn like this. And they think that because their finger fits in them and they know that their finger is round. But your nose will never be drawn like that unless your head is kicked completely backwards and people are looking up your nostrils. So your nose becomes either an ellipse, those nostrils become an ellipse, or an oval, or maybe, depending on the tilt of your head, you don't see those nostrils at all. Those nostrils are generally linked off the wings of that bird. And then you have your half circles, which are the edge of the nose. And then you generally have a line indicating shadow coming up to where the eye is. So if I was doing this one, now I'm going to make this nose a little different. I'm going to give this kind of a pug nose look. So I'm not going to connect my V in the middle. I'm going to make it look like her nose is pushed back just a touch. She'll have that kind of elf or fae look. Like she's a fairy. She's out in the woods by the mushroom patch, dancing in the moonlight. It's already got really one wonky eye. But that's basically how you could do a nose. Are there different noses? Sure. You got a big wide bird. Boom, boom. You could round it up here like that. You could have a very angular nose. With a lot of hard edges in it. However you decide to draw that nose, that's fine for you. Alright? So, since I've already kind of made her somewhat petite, I'm not going to give her too big of a nose. But I am going to erase some of my guidelines here. Alright? I'm going to put my ovals off the edge of the nose. And I'm going to have my light coming from this direction. Alright? So, the edge of the nose comes down here. And maybe I'll do a combination. Maybe she still has like a little bump in the middle of her nose. Alright? Now it's usually around this point that I start talking about the shape of the face. And that is the second most distinctive part of the anatomy, is when you start talking about the shape of the face. What does the jawline do? And this is one that's really so different from person to person that you really have to, kind of pay attention to it and look at it. Is it a sharp jawline? Is it kind of a heart shape where it comes into a point like a Reese Witherspoon? She has a super pointy chin. I'll give her, some people have a wide jaw, some people have a thin jaw, some people don't have much of a jaw. That's why they grow a beard. That's why at least I grow a beard. I don't have a very distinctive chin. All right, now I'll put a little more shadow in here just for giggles. Your ear always kind of has that potato chip look to it, or a lopsided peanut. All right. Now, one thing that we're missing so far is we are missing mouths. So let's talk about mouths. When your lips are shut, it makes a line. Just like when I put my fingers here together, there is a line. It's a shadow line. Everybody's line when they shut their mouth is slightly different. It could be a flattened M. All right. It could be a V shape like that. It could be kind of just straight up or crooked. Whatever it is, your lips are mostly a discoloration on your face, because if you ever put clown white on your face, you'll notice your lips disappear. This is also the same reason that women can take their lipstick and make their lips look bigger, or they take that lip liner and they bring it outside their lips. Kind of looks like a clown to me, but hey, whatever makes you happy, right? So let's talk about lip shape. Since this already has the M, I'm going to go with the pointed upper lip, what I call the Marilyn Monroe pout. Alright, that's one option. The one thing you will always notice about lips is because of the slight overhang of the upper lip, this is always a little darker than the lower lip. I really should have got a pencil less sharp to do my shading in here. Alright, and then you might have a fade on your lower lip coming up. It's going to give it a sense of thickness. You might even have a little highlight in there, a little shiny bit if somebody's wearing lipstick or lip gloss. My buddy Bill was awesome at drawing that. It always looked right. Every time I did it, it looked like my person had herpes. So I kind of never really did that very often. Your other lip option, if you have full lips, is what I call the Angelina Jolie. It's kind of this sectioned off, up, almost flat, and then down. Usually the lower lip does something very similar. Alright, once again, this too would be shaded. Alright, and this one I'm going to just call the Kathy Rigby. It's very thin lip, or at least thin upper lip, thicker lower lip. And we shade from there. Alright, so going back to your picture, you have to decide what kind of lips you want your person to have. I'm going to make one edge of that lip go up. I'm going to give her relatively thin lips. Alright. Maybe it'll be a little bit uneven like an Elvis. And then I'm going to shade. And we're good. Now, at this point, you're probably like, well, what do I do about the neck? Because that is a floating head. Alright, if you were to reach behind your ear, where your neck meets the back of your ear, that is a pressure point. Now, if you have a little brother or a little sister and you want them to do something, you just stick your finger there, you press that, they will squeal, they will do whatever you want. You can't do it to yourself. I have no idea why. It seems so counterintuitive. But that is pressure point and it hurts. That is where your neck connects to your skull. And your neck can either come in a little bit, alright, or maybe your neck is more broad. I don't really want to give her a big muscular, buffed out neck like she's The Rock. But it depends on the person. And since this is a lady, she's going to have a more graceful neck. We'll go from there. I won't give her an Adam's apple because, well, not very pronounced. Alright. And at this point, it's all about hair. Some people, when they try to draw a head, they do this thing. Where it's like, I want to draw every single individual hair that this person has ever grown in their life. And I'll put it on top. And then there will be a ribbon. Okay, that looks horrible. What you need to do when you're thinking about hair is how does hair fall? Hair generally falls in layers. So maybe you have a piece that comes down like this. Maybe she's got short hair. Maybe she's got long hair. I have another piece over here. There's probably 1,000 different hairstyles that you could possibly draw. But you need to think about it coming in layers. Once you do that, you can go back and you can add single lines within that. But if you ever look at somebody, you will notice you do not see every single hair in their head when you are looking at them. You see patterns of hair laying in sections. Usually it's darker under the earlobe. It's also usually darker slightly under the chin if you're doing your shading, because the chin cuts light. You don't want to do it so dark that it ends up looking like she has an Amish beard going, because it's hard to find things that match with an Amish beard for prom. I mean, you know, dresses alone got to be rough. All right. And you could always draw that little divot in between your nose and your upper lip if you feel good about that. Now, your lips should not go beyond your pupil unless you're Cameron Diaz, who looks like the Joker's love child. But some people with really big mouths, their lines could go farther out. All right. And without spending another 15 minutes drawing this thing and shading it and trying to erase guidelines, that's kind of where we're at with this. All right. If you need hairstyles, look up how to draw cartoon hair online, and that will give you at least a place to start with the hairstyles. And then you can take it and make it look more realistic from there by adding more details, more hairs. Maybe here toward the crown of the head, the hair gets darker. Maybe she dyes her hair and she hasn't had it touched up since COVID. Maybe she just has darker roots. Maybe there's a highlight. Alright, so that's how you do a front-facing head. Stay tuned and I will show you later how you do a side-facing head and a 3/4 facing head. Alright guys, have a good day. Stay out of trouble. Can't stay out of trouble, don't get caught.